I'm Craig. Obviously, that's Victor. And Victor's done all of the work. So I'm going to introduce kind of the project and why it's probably important to us. As you can see, change is inevitable. And we've got young people getting involved. We enjoyed the program today associated with that. But one thing I did is I thought, you know what, there's an NCJ article probably about this. And so I thought I was trying to find it, but I could not find it. So I thought, you know, what we ought to do is somebody ought to write an article. And in fact, I'd like to assign you this homework assignment. And you should do like all college kids do. You should go to your large language model, which is ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, and Grok. Okay? Everybody know what I'm talking about? And ask it this question. What is the future of ham radio contesting? And then see a kind of a short summary come up and then ask for the deep dive into that question. And I think you're going to be really surprised at what you read because we're all biased. But there's a lot of material out on the internet. It reads everything. And I think you're going to be surprised. And I just challenge you to do that because I don't want to tell you. And I'm going to actually bring up some things here that make you think a little bit. But what can affect the fun of contesting? First of all, fewer contesters would be bad, right? You'd agree with that. It would be bad. And like, let's think sweepstakes Sunday afternoon, right? That's a problem. Competing activities is another problem that we have right now. Less time to contest. Shorter contests are better for most people. Flanking technologies, like maybe Tina, you know, surprise. And then resistance to change, because there's some people that do not want to change anything, ever, at all. I know some of them. Do you know some of them? No. So participation in contests, easy for me to say. So what I did, I actually sent a note to ARRL, and I said, can you give me the number of logs that have been submitted for every contest that the ARRL sponsors? And of course, what's really convenient is CQ Magazine or CQ, actually, it's online, you can find it. And I got to tell you right now, based upon just logs, we're very healthy, with few exceptions. And I'll tell you what the exception is, and then you can try to analyze it. One of them is sweepstakes. It's declining. And of course, there's some VHF contests that are declining. So you have to think about sweepstakes and maybe what was said earlier about sweepstakes. I don't really like that contest because fill in the blank. Or what would young people think about operating at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night? Or fill in the blank. Something to think about. So I thought that was really good because that makes us feel good about our hobby. We've had a lot of activity, but then you have to mix in the product of COVID, because it had who thought with COVID contests went up, right? A lot. But actually, if you look at sweepstakes or CQ contests are dramatically higher right now. So the other thing that you should look at and check out yourself is how many serious operators are versus casual operators. How many people operate full time versus 10 years ago, 20 years ago when you look at the results. And then also you'll notice there's more activity when the sunspot activity is higher. Just makes sense. And of course, modes, CW, sideband, and digital. What do you think is going to happen over the years with these different modes? So actually, this was part of my Google research or my AI research. I found this demographic chart. And the most important thing to look at is down in the bottom lower left, that's CW. And that's demographics of the CW operators that are currently active. That's not very good, is it? And then the phone operators that are active is just to the right of that. And the problem with that is we might be meeting in room 1 at the Xenia Assisted Living Center in about 10 or 15 years. So what can we do about it? We need to grow the participation. And right now, there's ample opportunity. We've got remote operation. We got small stations. We've got portable stations. There seems to be quite a bit of that going on. But the other thing is actually, what can we do to adapt to the change necessary? And the shorter contests or overlays, possible mode changes or consideration of modes. But one thing that I think really boils down to is the contester experience also. As a contest, how many people, the cost is definitely a factor, right? And it's becoming higher and higher. The barriers to entry, maybe more remotes, things like that have to be thought of. The time commitment for contesting, the radios that are available, the loggers and what can they do, the internet access, and then of course real-time contesting can be certainly an answer to some of the technologically adept people. And with that, I'd like to introduce Victor. Victor, you may all know him, but Victor's been working on this for quite a while. And the idea would be that a person could sit down and operate and compete against their friends. And he's going to go through the mechanics of what's going on with that right now, and then I'll follow up at the end. So, Victor.
Thank you very much, Craig. Thank you very much for coming by, and we really appreciate your interest. Of course, we believe in the future of this new technology. Thank you very much. Okay, so the next... Okay, so where is the real-time contestant starts to shine? So the idea just to turn every contest into a live event, it could add energy and motivation that simply wasn't possible before. Yeah, think about it. The first thing, the contest meets the digital age. So ham radio is deeply rooted in traditions, but it doesn't have to stay stuck in the past. So we use computer everywhere. So we use SDRs, we use skimmers, we use many other things. So why should we use the radio as we used before, ages before? And so what does it mean, real-time contesting, RTC? So let's break it down. At first, it means your logger submits each QSO as you make it. So usually we have logger sends all the QSO for the last 2 minutes. Once QSO been uploaded to the server, those QSO are cross-checked instantly by a server, by RTC server. The scoreboard is updated in real time. And when the contest ends, results are published within a few minutes. So you shouldn't wait more months, even days, actually. The most important thing, log reports are generated almost immediately. Okay, so let's take a look how that works on the example of hamscore.com. So we have actually the 4 stages. So the last one is a little bit split one. So the first one is contest is coming. So you see the contest mark as a green, and you see the status on the top of the scoreboard is green. Contest is coming. So usually we activate contest a few hours before, so you can test your logger, are you connected, and you can simulate your log transmission by entering 1 or 2 QSO and see the results on your website. So the next, yeah, this is the contest is coming, how that looks like. So the next step, so 0-0, the contest is started. The scoreboard comes alive. So you can see live updates by almost every second. What's important with this scoreboard? So during the contest, you see the 2 areas on the scoreboards. So on the right side, that's the usual scoring data, which you saw before with the other scoring system. But the scores, this is a result of the robot service constantly running at RTC server, which constantly calculates each QSO in your log comparing to other existing logs and calculates your score for this exact moment. So this is the big difference, which makes a huge difference with versus the previous systems. So, okay, So we've done. Contest is finished. And we have the next step is a correction time. So once the contest ends, we enter correction time. And this is usually a short windows. Actually, we use now 10 minutes. And where you can fix typos or even resubmit the whole log if needed. Sometimes the multiple errors make sense just to re-upload the whole log. Once correction time is finished, so that's the most interesting thing, the most interesting part gonna start. So the scoreboards logs in. Final scores are published. So as you see on the scoreboards, it's all result of RTC data calculations. So final scores are published. You can see your place, review your overall results, and most important, compare your performance to others. But this is not it. So the next. One of the most powerful features of RTC is the immediate log check report. You don't just get a score, so you get a breakdown of every QSO. What was right, what was wrong, and why. So on the right side, so this is the log check report, and this is your contest log. So on the right side, you see the status for every QSO. So, for example, is it valid? Is it not? Why it's not valid? If you put wrong exchange, so you see exchange you sent and the correct one. Currently, this is not the Pulp Fiction actually. Course we're already providing real-time contest servers for small mini contests. CW Ops Mini CWT, ICWC Middle Speed Contest, and K1 USN Slow Speed. We're also currently able to serve contests using adjudication model for NAQP or NA Sprint. Okay, so how to use it? Actually, it's not difficult. It's pretty easy. And we have 4 loggers covering over, I think, over 90% of loggers currently being in use for contesters. So N1MM Plus supports RTC. DXLog supports QR test, that's very popular in Italy, also supports RTC. We have another one logger which just started and it's very popular in Europe. Software-defined contest logger. What's just a few words about the real-time contest protocol. So it's completely open. So it's published. It could be used by almost anyone. And what's the main difference between RTC protocol versus other? For example, it's very popular to use the live streaming at some online contest loggers during the expeditions. The biggest problem of such protocol, they all use the UDP. So it's a one-way broadcasting protocol. So you have QSO, it's going to be sent, but you never know, has it been received? Has been received properly? So the RTC protocol, it's a two-way communication between your logger and the RTC server. So every QSO receives a ticket confirmation. It's been received and stored on the server side. If there is no confirmation, logger are supposed to resend this QSO. Also, we have opportunity to send updates. Okay, so you have QSO been already reported, and you need to change time, exchange, whatever. So once you made your changes, this QSO are going to be re-uploaded and been replaced on the server. The server knows this is the QSO even been previously calculated, verified. So it's marked, it's unverified, and we do revalidation of this QSO. And we do it constantly. So for the current, now we have a pretty small setup, but in our calculation, what I see, so we can do the cross-check about 1,000 QSO per every 1 second. Yeah, for example, for CQWW, if they have the older logs, it's going to take about half an hour to calculate everything. But anyway, so this is the small setup, as I told. So there are ways just to improve it and to make it faster. And for the RTC protocol, we have the first case of successful implementation for hamlock.online. So they created their agent, so all the QSO from your logger could be uploaded to the hamlock.online. Okay, so looks like this is your part.
Okay, great. So you can see there's been a lot of thought to this and a lot of testing done during CWTs, and iteratively, thanks to everyone that participated in those, because a lot was learned in that process. One thing you should know for adjudication, which is what takes long, why we wait so long after a contest, is we're waiting and we're waiting and we're waiting. Not all logs are necessary to adjudicate. You know, you can cross-check other logs and calls as they come in against other logs. Logs can be manually entered later, so if there's some particular reason that some de-expedition doesn't have internet, but yet they compete in the contest, the log can be submitted later and adjudicated. Calls will be checked, exchange checked, time of QSO checked, band changes checked, multipliers checked. So it's the typical things that you'd adjudicate. Right now, the plan is to build a solid platform for any contest, and we feel that a lot of the contests are covered. So it's a matter of categories and different things that you might have in a QSO party could be quite complex, in fact. Allow contest managers to set up and manage their own contests. Contest managers can test for complaints and flags, you know, for a period of time. So it's up to the contest manager to say, you know, we got a complaint, we need to check manually a log or scrutinize a log. They can do that. Hopefully it wouldn't change the order of finish. But also one of the things that we think would be really great for new contesters, or people that maybe are gamers moving in, you know, young people moving into contesting, is to add a gaming type UI or some kind of a user interface that young people would associate with if they wanted to compete against with their buddy for 1 hour of CQ Worldwide. You could do that, and it would be right on your scoreboard. So that's kind of a cool thing that we'd like to do. And then the other thing that I think is also important, after all of this work is done, we would like to transfer the whole system to WWROF, because they're obviously considered a neutral body, and they would not be biased by really anything, in my opinion. So the idea is to build the platform and then have it neutral and held, you know, forever, all of the data that's collected. So with that, we're completed, and I thank you for listening. I hope that you'll consider it.
Okay, we have time for a couple of questions that you might have about the real-time online contesting. While you're thinking of something, we can accommodate those of you who are going to rush over here and buy a shirt. Buy a shirt. But seriously, any questions out here? Yeah, Mark.
Okay. So, yes. Okay. So, okay. Yes, I'm thinking how I'm going to say it. So, because of the way it was said. So, is this going to be a mandatory, or is it going to be an opt-in? And I think the best way to do this, and this is the way we've talked to other contest managers, is to do a simultaneous. For those that want to play, they play, and for those that want to, still submit your logs the normal way, because it'd be fun to compare the orders of finish and look at the log corrections to see what needs to be perfected. So the answer is probably that. We've also had other discussions from contest managers already where they want to get rid of the adjudication immediately. I mean, the QSO parties take forever. I mean, it's like a week before the next contest, you finally get the results in your trophy. So there's a lot of people that are ready to move on. And in fact, I can tell you when CAC was considering the new Digi contest that we put in a couple years ago, we were talking about mandatory because we figured anybody that was Digi probably wouldn't have any problem doing this. And maybe coincidentally, you know, that might be one of the first contests that's done. So, but that's the idea in answer to your question.